Welcome to the DC Summit. It's so good to be with all of you here today and also be joined by everybody who's participating on our live stream. And let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for our public sector customers who have delivered amazing services during the last 9 months of this pandemic. Thanks to all of our educators, our healthcare professionals, everybody working to make life a little more normal during the past 18 months. I also want to extend a special thanks to our sponsors who make this event possible, especially our global sponsors, Intel and VMware. Let's give them a round of applause. The sponsors that you see here offer services and expertise that accelerates your journey to the cloud, and it helps you realize real mission outcomes. So I encourage you to explore during the breakout sessions and to visit the learning zones and discover more about what these partners can help you do for your constituents. It's hard to believe that this is our first in-person event in nearly 18 months. I know for many it's been a difficult, exhausting, and traumatic time. The ramifications of this global pandemic will be felt for years. And there have been so many changes in our world since we shuttered our offices and began this global work from home experiment. The COVID-19 pandemic provided an unfortunate laboratory of innovation, which in many ways has been powered by technology and the cloud. And today, we want to walk through the journey with you so you can pick up insights, we can learn together, and we continue to transform public sector for the benefit of our citizens, our students, and our constituents all around the world. While those operating on legacy IT systems found out quickly that they were no match for the crisis that ensued, our AWS customers who were already operating in the cloud, they were able to move faster, they were able to scale more quickly, and ensure business continuity. Because of our customers' ingenuity and dedication, they were able to save lives, deliver mission-critical services, and change the way society engages, educates, and does business for good. I believe that many of these changes are going to become permanent and have a basis for our future innovation. Today, we're going to look back, showcasing some of the groundbreaking innovations that are born out of this adversity, and then we're going to look forward and unveil some exciting new announcements for our public sector customers. Here's the bottom line. COVID accelerated a digital transformation across public and commercial sectors and institutions by 3 to 5 years, maybe more, as we've heard from some of our customers. And many of you have been working diligently toward this goal, slowly pushing your institutions in this direction, being persistent and innovating. The pandemic forced us to innovate through these tremendous challenges and changes, and we want to support the momentum that this has generated. I want you to leave here confident, optimistic, and excited about all the ways that we can continue to innovate together. Let's start with the topic most pressing on people's minds: public health. COVID-19 drove a major acceleration in telemedicine, in digital health, in data sharing, and medical research. What used to take years to develop or accomplish, we saw customers do in days or weeks. And now that we've proven that this is possible at scale, how do we keep building this momentum and build together for a better world? One of the most powerful examples of rapid innovation that was born out of the crisis is the speed with which COVID-19 vaccines were developed. Moderna was one of the leading companies addressing this pandemic. The power of Moderna's cloud-based strategy was demonstrated by the speed with which they delivered a highly effective vaccine and it's a capacity to scale production globally. Long before Moderna was a household name, they have used AWS-powered research engines to develop and deliver on the promise of mRNA vaccines. Once the vaccine was developed, it quickly became apparent that the next challenge for our public health system would be efficient and equitable distribution. Around the world, AWS worked alongside more than 26 national governments to build vaccine management systems that could help organizations quickly scale up to meet the surging demand for vaccines. Here in the U.S., we worked with 32 states to support public health initiatives such as vaccine management, immunization management systems, electronic lab reporting, contact tracing, data lakes, and more. For example, the Provincial Health Authority in British Columbia built a system that could accommodate 2.5 million residents in a matter of weeks. We had the privilege to work with the government of India to execute the largest vaccine drive in history through their application called CoWIN, a countrywide vaccine registration and scheduling management system. And here are the results. When it first opened, 1.9 million people accessed the system. Today, viewing the CoWIN dashboard, more than 850 million vaccine doses have been administered. And more than 1 billion people are expected to eventually use this system. That is scale, and that's the power that you can have on the AWS cloud. Let me give you an example for just how big this operation is. CoWIN recorded 22.5 million vaccinations in one day. It was a historic milestone for India's vaccination effort. That's the equivalent of vaccinating every person in the state of New York today. That's scale. In addition to the direct involvement in vaccine development and rollout, our cloud-based services also help to usher in a new era of telehealth, a long-promised revolution in healthcare. The stories of how customers in our healthcare sector are innovating throughout this pandemic continue to flood in. Let me share a couple of examples with you. New South Wales was able to handle an 18-fold increase in video conferencing and scale up to support remote employees and telehealth services on the cloud. They used Amazon Connect, our cloud contact center, to manage this influx of calls regarding COVID-19 testing and provided SMS message results as part of the workflow. The customer stood up the solution in just 3 weeks. And since March of 2020, it has sent and received more than 104 million SMS messages using Amazon Pinpoint. Again and again, we've seen how technology meets healthcare on the front lines to care for more people in more ways and more quickly and cost-effectively than ever. Let me just stop for a second and make a quick plug for this afternoon. Later today, I'll get an opportunity to sit down with Dr. Shafiq Arab for a chat. Shafiq is from WellForce, a well-known health system in Massachusetts, and we'll have the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the way that they're transforming healthcare delivery and the impact that this can have for all of us. So be sure to come back here or tune in with us again at 4 o'clock Eastern for that discussion. I promise it'll be great. AWS continues to innovate to help power our customers' public health innovations, and the ability to securely store, manage, manipulate large health data sets has been vital for advancing medical research and for growing the need for quality health analytics. In July, we announced the general availability of Amazon HealthLake, a HIPAA-eligible service that offers customers a complete view of individual or patient population health data so that they can query and perform analytics at scale. Rush University is one of those customers who used Amazon HealthLake earlier this year so that they could go ahead and address the needs of the Chicagoland citizens. Now, September is also Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So I want to highlight one of the nation's leading pediatric hospitals. For nearly a decade, Children's National Hospital, right here in this area, have helped researchers and used AWS to advance their groundbreaking research. They're developing personalized care strategies to fight cancer that's based on big data. And they're identifying the gene targets and predicting where we may discover tomorrow's cures. To do this, they're using AWS at their new one-of-a-kind research and innovation campus in Washington, D.C. I had the great opportunity to visit just earlier this month. And next month, Children's National will be celebrating its 150th birthday with a race for every child. It's a virtual 5K, and I hope everybody here joins. I'm proud to announce that we're celebrating that with a milestone and donating $100,000 to the cause. And I would like to invite each of you to join me in that celebration. You can visit childrensnational.org to find out how to donate and have fun and get involved with the Race for Every Child. It took less than a year to go from diagnosing the first case of COVID-19 to administering the first vaccine. Advances in genomics, sped up by the cloud, contribute to this revolutionary speed. Genomics England was established to deliver the 100,000 Genome Project, a cohort of cancer and rare disease whole genomes by the UK Department of Health and Social Care. During the COVID-19 pandemic, GEL launched an initiative to deliver a cohort of 8 leading pharmaceutical companies and research organizations to fuel vaccine, treatment, and early detection research. The COVID research environment now hosts 35,000 genomes and went live on AWS in under 3 months. This federated system allows companies and researchers across the cohort to connect with their own private data sets and then help increase global collaboration in a secure environment. GEL is also currently migrating its genomics medicine service to AWS, along with the 100,000 genome data set to further accelerate research. And we're proud to work alongside these great innovative organizations to leverage data in the cloud to tackle some of our biggest healthcare challenges. We've seen the rapid spread of COVID-19 across the globe and how it's ravaged our economy and our healthcare systems and far too many lives. Our solutions have to be faster, and our responses have to be more innovative, and they must be more equitable. The pandemic has exposed many of the disparities in our society. More now than ever, we need to end these disparities in our healthcare systems. That's why we're launching a new global program to help customers advance health equity. It's a 3-year, $40 million commitment to harness the power of the cloud to advance technology and health equity globally. We'll offer AWS promotional credits and technical expertise to qualified organizations that are advancing health equity in 3 important areas. Organizations must increase access to health and social services for underserved or underrepresented communities, advance progress on social, behavioral, and social determinants of health, or leverage data to identify and inform interventions to provide more equitable systems of care. This is just a start, but it's an important one, and we invite you all to join us by exploring this program and submitting your applications by November 15th. The pandemic has sparked a global call to action. One way to keep that momentum going is the widespread adoption of e-health policies implemented during COVID. The proliferation of cloud adoption makes managing and accessing healthcare data and healthcare systems more feasible and more secure. The good news is that across the globe, we're seeing this trend pick up. And we continue to play our part in calling for and enabling the public sector to deliver healthcare more rapidly and more securely. Healthcare changed at an astonishing speed. So did the ways that we work, live, educate, and serve. Governments and nonprofits have always done the right things in person. And while many of them have been working on the cloud to start digitizing and modernizing their organizations, it really took this jolt to drive a true transformation in digital services. Because as we found out during COVID, sometimes the only interface that we have is digital with our citizens, our customers, our students. And so failure was just not an option. Consider education and workforce development, which both experienced a traumatic transformation in the last 18 months. I bet you all remember this. I know I do. Schools shuttered overnight. Educators and administrators and families took on heroic actions to ensure that students of all ages could continue that educational journey. This forced rapid transition to an online learning environment accelerated the digital transformation across the whole education industry. AWS Cloud Technologies were instrumental in making that happen. We helped to educate students of all ages from home, from the college campus to the warehouse. Things that were essential, like setting up virtual classrooms and securing student data, those were table stakes for our customers. One unexpected way that our customers were able to support students is in the area of mental health and well-being. The pandemic has taken its toll on the emotional satisfaction for all of us. Educators around the world were looking for solutions to help support students with their health and their emotional well-being. Education technology companies jumped in to solve that. They began innovating on the cloud to be able to address these challenges while improving student achievement. Companies like Indigo Education Company are using Amazon CloudFront to deliver a range of online courses and tutorial content that supports social and emotional health for our students. From Vietnam to Colombia, from China to the United States, the power of the cloud allowed them to step in and help at this critical moment. Many higher education institutions became virtual overnight. While many had been at various stages of digital adoption, creating a more virtual and hybrid pathway, this was a forced migration online at a scale that we have never seen before. AWS was able to provide a wide range of services to help them scale up and meet that demand. The University of California State System is working with AWS to provide that cloud environment to scale up and support over 500,000 students spread across 23 different campuses. In particular, the College of Engineering at Boise State had to deal with a different kind of challenge. Engineering students were used to accessing their physical computer labs to be able to get to all of the specific software programs that they needed for research. When COVID happened, everything changed, and the university turned to Amazon AppStream to be able to set up a virtual lab environment that streams these applications to students now, giving them all of the access they need to critical software so that they can stay on track. One of our most critical passions is using the power of the cloud to help build up the next generation IT workforce. As technology advances, we need skilled workers who understand what the new technologies are and help them stay ahead of the technology learning curve. We hear this from industry, that there is a lack of skills, and that can be one of the greatest inhibitors to their cloud transformation and their cloud journey. For more than a decade, AWS has been committed to democratizing knowledge and giving all individuals, regardless of their background, education, or social status, the opportunity to build technical skills. Last December, we committed to providing 29 million people around the world with access to free cloud computing skills training by 2025. And our training programs are proving to be very robust, with hundreds of courses delivered in different formats, from digital self-service to self-paced to full-time intensive upskilling programs. There really is something for everyone here. And we continue to make important progress toward that 29 million goal. You can expect to see more from us in this space and updates on the ways that we are investing and scaling up our programs to increase our impact. In August, we announced that we doubled our AWS Restart program's global presence. Restart is a free 12-week program that prepares unemployed or underemployed individuals for careers in cloud computing. And importantly, we connect more than 90% of those graduates with job interviews. And so it goes from skills to real job opportunity. It's incredibly important. Our free training also powers initiatives like She Dares, which launched in Australia and New Zealand and is empowering women to be able to pursue careers in tech. And we're also trying new things, like free interactive training courses delivered on Twitch. And finally, we're supporting communities and customers through our skills training in many, many other ways. We've collaborated with 8 states. Our partnership with the state of Texas is one example, where the Texas Association of Community Colleges is working with AWS to enable access to cloud computing education courses and certifications for students in the community. The initiative aims to train, reskill, and certify 50,000 Texans over the next 3 years to qualify for cloud computing jobs in their local communities. We're finding innovative ways to be able to introduce new forms of cloud training and curricula, and we're squarely focused on inspiring the next generation of learners to pursue careers in STEM. So what's next? Continued innovation, continued workforce development, continued upskilling, and importantly, connecting people with industry jobs. In the World Economic Forum's 2020 Future of Work report, 50% of all employees will need some kind of reskilling by 2025. It's clear that we need to prepare more people to leverage the cloud and all that it enables. A moment ago, I mentioned that our growth of the Restart program has been inspiring. Today, we want to announce a further expansion of the Restart program into Latin America. And so we'll be bringing it to 5 new countries: Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and Peru. In Europe, we're working with the government of Andalusia, Spain, to offer cloud computing curricula for higher education students across the region over the next 2 years. Since late March, we've delivered virtual professional education development trainings to over 700 educators there. And through this collaboration, we'll be able to reach 6,000 students across 105 schools with more than 175 IT courses to offer these cloud computing curriculum. We hope that it can become a model for regions around the globe. Here in North America, Invest Vancouver and AWS are collaborating on a new career initiative with the goal of preparing thousands of Metro Vancouver residents for well-paid employment in the tech sector. Through the program, participants will be able to access training for some of the most in-demand skills in sectors like cloud computing, artificial intelligence, security, and data analytics. We want to work with you to help evolve education, transform the global workforce, and use this momentum gained during the COVID pandemic to continue to accelerate digital adoption. We've seen a lot of remarkable advances across the public sector and commercial businesses, and we're excited about what we can continue to do and achieve together. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from our first customer who will share her agency's journey to modernize its infrastructure while also upskilling its workforce. Alexa, can you help me welcome our next guest speaker?
Please welcome Lisa Stockdale, Director of the Utah Department of Human Services Office of Recovery Services.
Come on, everybody, a big round of applause for Lisa. How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you, Max, and thank you, Alexa, for the introduction. The Office of Recovery Services, or ORS, is part of the Utah Department of Human Services. We're basically a collection agency for the government with 2 purposes. We collect and distribute child support between parents so that children receive the financial support that they need. And we preserve Medicaid funds by billing insurance companies for medical expenses paid by Medicaid. We process 900,000 transactions and 125 million database calls per day. And we do this using a case management and accounting system known as ORSYS. It's been in production since 1995. It was a mainframe system programmed in COBOL, which is one of the oldest programming languages still in use today, and it was showing its age. We were having trouble getting support for the mainframe itself, and we were hiring COBOL programmers out of retirement. It was time for a change. Similar child support agencies in every state have faced this dilemma, so we knew our basic options. ORS could build a new system from scratch, or we could buy somebody else's system and customize it. Both options were about a $200 million price tag and an optimistic time frame of 5 to 8 years. That was time and money we just didn't have, so we had to get creative. Luckily, I had already started connecting with other leaders to see their ideas. The Colorado Child Support Director let me know about the success they'd had with refactoring with no downtime. So I took my team to Colorado, and we met with their programmers and with their vendor, Inawake. We came away with tons of new knowledge and completely inspired. Ultimately, we decided to refactor and replatform the existing ORSYS system. For simplicity, think of refactoring as translating between languages. Somebody may speak French, but we can translate that to English. A system may speak COBOL, but we can translate that into Java. At the end of the translation, the system works essentially the same, much as a language translation still conveys the same idea. Replatforming is moving a system to reside on new servers. People can move from one house to a new type of house, and a system can move from a mainframe to on-site web-based servers, or even to the cloud. We knew we needed to move, but we needed to decide where to replatform. I had been attending AWS summits to learn more about how other organizations use the cloud. I took pictures of the slides and presentations that interested me, and I stayed after sessions to question some very helpful and very patient AWS representatives. In the public sector, many of us are faced with decisions that are not exactly in our realm of expertise. So, as an English literature major, I was so grateful for all of the organizations that had shared their stories with me, and ultimately those stories influenced our decision for our own cloud journey. The benefits were clear, including cost savings and increased security, especially through the cloud's FedRAMP offerings. I was convinced this was how we should proceed, but our state organizations didn't think we were quite ready for the cloud, and we were asked to go to on-site web-based servers. After doing an RFP, we selected Deloitte, which now owned Inawake, as our vendor. In a surprising turn of events, the Utah legislature passed a requirement for all agencies to consider cloud solutions as they prepared to close our state database center. So, ready or not, we were going to the cloud. We had to change our replatforming approach to include the cloud so quickly, but we underestimated the knowledge that we needed to have to do that, and we ran into initial problems. Our project came to almost a complete standstill for 5 to 6 months while our state staff struggled to build servers. Once we agreed that our state staff had done everything they could, we reached out to AWS and Deloitte to get the skill sets and support that we needed. Deloitte and AWS quickly put together a team of specialists to set up the new servers. And they taught our staff while they worked, making this an on-the-job training opportunity. They also created documentation so that future state staff could replicate these same results. With the help of Deloitte and AWS, we were back on schedule, and we moved a refactored and replatformed ORSIS system to production on October 26, 2020, the exact day proposed in the original project schedule. We accomplished this significant first stage in less than 15 months, and for around 5% of the cost for a traditionally modernized child support system. And we achieved some incredible results. While the coding language had been translated from COBOL to Java, the system still works the same, which created a seamless transition with zero downtime and no additional staff training needed. Using AWS Glacier Deep Archive, we are able to get 7 years of storage for what it had previously cost for just 1 month of storage on the mainframe. By deploying ORSIS into the AWS GovCloud and isolating it in a virtual private cloud with Amazon, we are able to ensure the highest level of security, which is essential given the important and sensitive HIPAA and federal tax data that we manage. And this is still only the beginning. We will be moving to software as a service so that AWS can maintain the environment for ORSIS. That frees our technical staff for other projects. This approach has provided us with the time to think about additional ways to modernize and improve the user experience, including things like redesigning the screens of the 80s, using human-centered design techniques, colors, and enabling navigation through clicks on a screen instead of through memorized screen codes. We are rolling our cost savings forward to largely fund our modernization efforts over the next 5 years. And we continue to invest in our employees' skills development so that they can support new technologies in the future. None of this would have been possible without the support of Deloitte and AWS. Their willingness to treat this entire project as on-the-job training has changed Utah staff and turned this little small agency project into an opportunity that will benefit the entire Utah state government as we can continue our state's cloud journey. I am so proud of what we have been able to accomplish and very excited about what the future still brings. This conference is about the importance of collaboration and knowledge sharing in the public sector. These have been vital in guiding our approach. So I am incredibly honored to have been able to share our experiences and our accomplishments with you here today. Thank you so much.
Hold on just a second, Lisa. What a great story that was. I loved the part about learning at the conference and then about doing something about it and then energizing your staff and your workforce to make that kind of progress. I can't believe you hit the deadline that was originally set.
It was incredible. And we have these AW summits to thank for a lot of what we learned.
Well, thank you so much, but I heard there's some other people that you maybe want to thank.
He gave me permission to give a shout out to my technical manager, Bart Mason, who pushed me to look at the cloud even when I was resistant years ago.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Really, really appreciate you sharing with us. It was a great story. I just couldn't help, as we were talking backstage, to think about what Lisa was saying and how it took a lot of people across the organization to have the courage, and then the grit and the determination to push forward on a project. There were several times you heard that things were a little tricky or challenging. COVID changed our healthcare. It changed the way that we work. It changed the way we learn. For the public sector, it changed almost everything. It showed that people expect the same world-class technology from their public sector organizations that they expect when they log on to Netflix or when they shop online. Citizens turn to local and national governments every day, and those agencies must deliver. Because of the global pandemic, many of the customers did heroic things to keep their systems up and running. The cloud enabled them to maintain the business continuity, move at astounding speeds, and deliver critical services, and to speak to their citizens and interact with their citizens in these hours of greatest need. Civic engagement is the lifeblood of democracy. And with the pandemic, much of that had to move online really quickly. Last summer, both the Democratic and the Republican national conventions had to pivot to virtual events. They had to do this in a very limited time frame, with no room for error, and facing a backdrop of information security threats from foreign actors and at a scale that they had never done before. It was a monumental task. But we're proud to say that both conventions used AWS services and they were executed seamlessly and successfully. In fact, over 7,500 government agencies around the world use AWS. And we work with customers to address an array of different sophisticated threats designed to undermine system integrity and public trust. But AWS, with election administrators and political campaigns that are all powered on AWS, are focused on making sure that they're delivered securely, maintaining the infrastructure, and supporting exactly these types of mission-critical efforts. The census was another important element of civic life. In 2016, the Australian government had to shut down its census website because they were experiencing a series of denial of service attacks, among other challenges. So for the past 2 years, PwC Australia and AWS worked to build a very robust 2021 census digital service by working closely with the government to assure that those reliability issues would not happen again. And earlier this month, the government received an estimated 9.3 million census forms, of which 7.5 million were conducted online. Census 2021 was deemed a success by Australian leadership, who noted that there were no interruptions, no excessive wait times, and no security breaches. While in-person engagement was limited, if not completely shut down, citizen demand for government services has skyrocketed. From delivering unemployment benefits to providing emergency helplines to managing the flood of new health data, the capacity of many of our public sector customers was really tested. Here again, health systems were on the front lines. The New York State Department of Health used AWS Cloud to create a COVID-19 patient data lake registry. It contains all of the data assembled by the state's COVID-19 response teams, and it enabled them to get better insights and more quickly respond to COVID-19 pandemic analysis in the state of New York. Because of the pandemic, millions of Americans found themselves out of work, and states experienced unexpected and unprecedented demand for unemployment benefits. We began to work with 15 states to respond to this surge. Each of these examples show how customers turn to our cloud services to meet the needs of their communities, and our customers really redefined what moving fast meant. They moved out quickly, they made rapid decisions, they deployed technology at a pace that we had never seen before in many cases. We take very seriously our role in providing the secure environment for governments to operate and serve their citizens. In fact, the security and compliance requirements that public sector organizations must meet continue to ratchet up each year. In Europe, the European Union Schrems II court case, GDPR and privacy, the US President's executive order on cybersecurity, they're just a few of the examples of the regulatory requirement that all of our customers have to deal with. And as these requirements become more complex, the threat landscape has been even more active than any time in the past, with ransomware attacks being top of mind among public sector policymakers, CISOs, and security teams. Our customers must be able to move quickly and focus on their mission-critical tasks, and that's why we offer significantly more services than any cloud provider, with more than 200 fully featured services to support any cloud workload. This makes it easier, faster, and more cost-effective to move and modernize existing applications to the cloud, and to build new capabilities and new systems encompassing nearly anything that you can imagine. In June, we announced the acquisition of Wickr, which brought to market an end-to-end encrypted collaboration project. When the NSA published its guide to selecting and safely using collaboration services for telework, Wickr was the only US-based company that met all of those security elements. Our government customers entrust us with critical operations. So let's hear from our next guest speaker, who will now share how the United States Air Force is leveraging the cloud to continue to innovate while assuring the highest levels of security. Alexa, can you please welcome our next guest to the stage?
Please welcome Lauren Knosenberger, Chief Information Officer for the United States Air Force.
Let's give a hand to Lauren Knosenberger. Hello, welcome. Thank you. We're looking forward to your story.
All right. Good morning. So I am relatively new to the Department of the Air Force. I joined about 4 years ago, and I have to tell you, this is the world's greatest Air Force. You have an incredible Air Force and Space Force watching out for you. And it really amazed me coming in the door. These guys make the impossible possible every day. Airplanes that fly at 70,000 feet, which, by the way, you have to wear a spacesuit because above about 63,000 feet, your blood will boil at room temperature. Airplanes that are practically invisible, and GPS satellites that you rely on for your business every day. And so I was kind of puzzled, when we make the impossible possible, at the same time, we were making easy things hard. And really with IT, the things that other people do well, because air power was our core competency. And so we have been on a journey, like many folks, to do a variety of things. Now, as CIO of the Air Force and the Space Force, I have to worry about a couple of different areas. I have to worry about the business environment, doing things efficiently. I also have to worry about the future fight. How do we get sensor data from all over the world, pull it together, and have algorithms do what algorithms need to do, and make sure that our warfighters are still in the loop where they need to make key decisions. And all of that takes global infrastructure for a globally distributed force. So one thing that I want to share with you is Cloud One. So we decided a few years ago that we were going to be a multi-hybrid cloud. And along with being a multi-hybrid cloud, we have to do that across multiple levels of classification. So we have to do that at unclassified, secret, top secret, and sometimes even more than top secret. And so I do want to share with you some of our unclassified journey. So when I joined 4 years ago, All of our websites were largely hosted locally. We had different teams maintaining them. We had different teams securing them. Can you imagine, with what you know of the security accreditation process in government, having to independently deploy all of those things and get them accredited? So we don't do that anymore. The vast majority of our unclassified systems are in Cloud One, and a large number of those are in AWS. And now, when we say systems, that probably looks like a small number of things, but systems are really a collection of many things. So think of that as hundreds of applications making up those systems that I'm talking about. Over 19 million monthly logins, all of our public-facing sites, all in the cloud today. We have been able to close almost all of our personnel-focused data centers and consolidate hundreds of applications. So the cost savings have been huge. Now, another thing that you might notice is there is an attacks prevented last month metric up there. We take a lot of incoming fire. Much like the global banking industry also takes a lot of incoming fiber in the cyber domain. And we have really set up an incredible environment that combines automation, but also our airmen defenders to stave all of that off through our cloud environment. Now, another thing that we used to be doing separately was we had different ICAM solutions. We had different ways of monitoring our environments. Today, we have one standard solution. If I want to set up an innovation lab, if I want to launch a new app, if I want to host a new business application, I can do all of that in Cloud One. And I can go and largely push a button, spin up an accredited environment. I don't have to go through the 900 steps starting over. And a lot of those services, that continuous monitoring, get us the rest of the way. So our agility has been hugely increased through this. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to deploy software at the speed of need. Now, I told you earlier how I was so floored that we were incredible with airplanes, and we were slow sometimes in the IT domain. And my theory at the time was that it was because we were probably the world's greatest hardware company. I told you about all those incredible things with airplanes. But we were in the process of trying to become one of the world's greatest software companies, but without the global infrastructure to support it. And so Platform One was part of our strategy. And you can see here our teams are deploying 49 times per day. Now, the federal guys in the audience are probably thinking, wow, that's really fast. It is a huge accomplishment. The commercial guys in the audience are saying, well, but we deploy thousands of times per day. So the reason for this is that we are much faster where we are deploying to consistent cloud infrastructure. And we're really good at doing that in the unclassified world. We're pretty good at that in the top secret world. We have a lot of room to go in the secret world, which is largely our warfighting domain. And so this is something that we're pushing forward hard with Platform One. And I do want to share with you Kessel Run. So Kessel Run was one of our first just really successful DevSecOps examples, and thus called Kessel Run because at the time they were literally smuggling agile DevSecOps into the department. And they've done an incredible job. So the original problem that they looked at was how do we go from planning our in-air tanker refueling operations from a whiteboard to an algorithm. And you've probably heard this story. You know, we refuel in the air at about 400 miles an hour. That really was done by hand. Where are those airplanes going to meet up for the mission? And so we were able to write that code, but we needed a place to deploy it consistently. And we were able to leverage AWS for all of those development environments. We were able to use all of the native tools as well as open source tooling to automate a lot of our security checks, to bake in continuous monitoring from the start, and to get real agility in the way that we were able to deploy software. And from there, largely on Platform One and sometimes on Kessel Run, we're able to deploy to C2S and SC2S. That is our global top secret and secret Amazon cloud. And also in places where we just had really terrible connectivity, our military does have to operate disconnected in a lot of parts of the world. We were able to operate on edge devices, sometimes a satellite connection and a snowball or another type of edge capability, and that has helped us to continue to operate where we don't have connections. And so it's been an incredible journey. I was so glad to hear from Lisa a few minutes ago that we're not the only ones that still have COBOL deployments out there. We might have a few things to learn from her too. But it's been a pleasure sharing some of our story today, and we're going to keep making our Air Force even better and better to protect you. All right.
Thank you, Laura. And that was, I have to just stay for one more second.
Okay.
We were talking backstage, and you told me how everybody likes aircraft, and aircraft go really fast. What was awesome to hear was just how fast you've got the Air Force's IT systems moving now. So that was an incredible story and everything you're able to accomplish. Thanks so much for sharing it with the audience here, and I hope you have a great rest of the conference.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Everybody, round of applause, please. I'm privileged to be able to make a series of announcements that deepen our existing capabilities and display our long-standing commitment to public sector customers and keeping them secure. AWS was the first commercial cloud service provider accredited to support the U.S. government workloads across the full range of U.S. government data classifications. And we're committed to supporting our national security customers and partners as they deliver on some of the most critical missions our nation has. Importantly, we've learned from these customers with the most sensitive workloads, the most sensitive missions, how to raise the bar for all of our customers. Today, we've launched Zoom's first product listings in the AWS marketplace that are specifically made for U.S. public sector customers. The availability of the FedRAMP-authorized Zoom for Government platform in the AWS GovCloud will give federal agencies, state and local governments the ability to even move faster as they modernize their communications platforms in a secure and seamless manner. We're also announcing today that VMware Cloud on AWS GovCloud has achieved FedRAMP agency authority to operate at the high impact level. VMware Cloud on AWS provides public sector IT teams with an on-demand, scalable cloud service that enables you to seamlessly extend, migrate, and protect your infrastructure in the cloud. Another exciting development is that we're enhancing our IPv6 support for Amazon EC2 to support IPv6 only for networking on EC2 instances. As our federal customers know, the White House OMB issued a mandate for the U.S. agencies to make federal information systems IPv6 native enabled by 2023. We're committed to this important standards initiative, and we're excited to announce that we will be releasing the IPv6 feature in just the coming weeks. In May, yes, somebody's a networking person out here. I know a couple of our customers were waiting for that capability, so we're excited to be able to share publicly that it's coming. In May, the White House issued an executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity. With increasingly sophisticated digital threats, the Biden administration has elevated cybersecurity as a national imperative. AWS is ready to work with our customers to assess resources, provide expertise, use the right technology, employ professional services, all to accelerate timelines for meeting the mandated security and compliance requirements. These partners can help. This is critical for all U.S. agencies, and the best practices apply globally to the benefit of all organizations planning for this secure capability in a global threat landscape. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And at this summit, we have sessions that are dedicated to providing education, resources, support, and more as you define and execute your strategy and your organization's security strategy. And just like Lisa did, I encourage you to make the most out of these sessions for your own learning and then bring it back to your organizations. We hope that our commitment to cybersecurity and protecting the integrity of your data and networks is crystal clear. As we look to what comes next, we know one thing for sure. We must do our part to build a sustainable, diverse, and inclusive future. In all that we do and in all that we enable, we must make a positive social impact. One of the most important areas we can impact is our environment. Wildfires, hurricanes, rising sea level temperatures, and drought, all the effects of global climate change are felt all around the globe, and we see them every day. We experience them in our homes and in our workplaces. They're a threat to our nation and our well-being and our national security. That's why we co-founded the Climate Pledge, working to be net carbon zero by 2040. We will work tirelessly to find ways to help our customers and our partners drive towards this more sustainable future. We've got a new partnership with the Nature Conservancy. It's a global environmental organization that has done great good across the world, and so together we launched an accelerator that'll create a more sustainable source of income for thousands of local farmers in Brazil and restore native rainforests while fighting climate change by naturally trapping and storing carbon. Through our Amazon Sustainability Data Initiative, we're collaborating with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to help map, monitor, and manage ocean resources and activities. Digital Earth Africa is using AWS Cloud to track changes across that continent. Our efforts with them are making Earth observation data more easily accessible, providing critical insights necessary for the continent to plan and operate around the movement of people and the availability of land, water, and agriculture. We're also supporting efforts to protect koalas from extinction. The University of Sydney announced through the AWS Open Data Sponsorship Program, it can make data derived from the mapping the genomes of 450 koalas from across the entire species available to researchers everywhere. And their efforts will help protect this iconic animal and make real progress toward the goal of doubling koala numbers by 2050. These are just a few examples of how we are leveraging the cloud to directly power research into climate environment, but we also must help organizations respond when disasters do happen. Since 2018, the AWS Disaster Response Team has worked to provide relief and response to global communities that are impacted by natural disasters. Recently, we provided help and support to the Gulf Coast in the wake of Hurricane Ida. That support included AWS providing volunteers, assisting with the deployment of AWS services to assist with communications, and by helping rebuild connectivity and providing charging stations. We're also helping to power the entrepreneurs who are working to solve some of the planet's most pressing problems. Halcyon has a mission to accelerate an impact-driven future. One of the ways that they do this is through fellowships for social entrepreneurs, including the AWS-sponsored Halcyon Africa initiative. In addition to support from Halcyon and a residency in Washington, D.C., fellows also receive an extensive range of AWS resources that include access to solutions architects, training and certification that we've heard is so necessary, and cloud credits to help them proceed at low or no cost. Applications for this close in October, so if you're interested in a Halcyon intensive, please go ahead and go online and get your applications in. AWS has also proudly provided funding to support our great partners at the American Council for Renewable Energy in launching the ACORE Accelerate program. It's dedicated to achieving a more inclusive renewable energy sector by building opportunities for smaller renewable energy companies owned and operated by women, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. And now we're proud to announce additional financial support to enable ACORE to conduct a study to evaluate the renewable energy supply chain, its current state, and the barriers to entry for women and BIPOC-owned firms. We're committed to ensuring that business leaders in the renewable energy economy better reflect the diversity of our own society. We're also excited to announce the AWS Innovation Studio, which is a virtual and a physical space at our new Arlington headquarters. At the studio, customers are going to be able to collaborate with Amazon experts and find new ways to address some of the world's most pressing societal issues, such as sustainability, housing insecurity, social justice, and health and education equity. We've already got 2 projects in the early stages. The studio is working with Resilient Cities Network, which supports 100 cities around the world, and together we help make communities put systems in place that can survive, adapt, and thrive, especially given the increasing impacts of climate change. With Georgetown University, we're working at the studio to bring to life a big data project to help researchers analyze and access U.S. civil court data to help them be more transparent and more equitable in court systems. In the past decade, we've made over $35 billion in investments in Northern Virginia. The Commonwealth's assessment is that in this, we have created some $6.8 billion in GDP. And importantly, we've been able to support some 38,000 full-time equivalent jobs in this region. And it's not just in the Northern Virginia region. In the state's southern tier, we're also investing in solar farms. The newest farm will pump 933 megawatts into the Virginia electric grid. That's enough to power 225,000 homes. And these projects are expected to generate an equivalent of an additional 6,000 full-time equivalents for the state economy. These are just a few of the examples in the ways that we remain committed to develop a more sustainable, more diverse, and more inclusive future. I said at the onset that I wanted to leave you inspired and hopeful, and I hope the examples of the revolutionary efforts across these industries have sparked an aha moment for you, something that makes you want to work with AWS to explore and try new things. Now, over the last 18 months, we've recognized the importance of human connections and the role that technology provides to bring us all closer together. So our next speaker has studied that connection and is bringing it to life in a beautiful and thought-provoking and creative way. Her sculpture is powered by AWS Artificial Intelligence Services and is the first artwork to be commissioned by AWS. So I'm actually thrilled that she's able to give us a sneak peek here. Alexa, can you please help us welcome our next speaker to the stage?
Please welcome artist Suchi Reddy, founder of Ready Made Architecture and Design.
Thank you, everybody, to give me a hand for Suchi. Welcome, Suchi.
Thank you, Max. It's great to be here.
I've got a couple of quick questions for you. How would you describe your future in one word, and what does it mean for each of us in this moment to envision our future?
Well, this is what I want you to think about when you interact with my new sculpture called Me Plus You. I built the sculpture both as a physical sculpture that you can walk up to and appreciate in person at the Smithsonian in November, but
I'm
also
so excited about November, by the way.
It's amazing. I'm excited to be there myself. But I've also built it as its digital counterpart in a web app, which you can see on these screens, to allow anyone, anywhere, anytime, to contribute their voice to our collective vision of the future. So in the physical sculpture, you get to walk up to it and speak a word for your future into it. And through the magic of artificial intelligence, it will take the vibration of your voice and show you your own unique light mandala. And the center of the sculpture puts all our visions of the future together to show us what collectively we can imagine. The digital version works similarly, but instead of speaking your word, you can type it. So let me show you. And Max, while I have you here, can you give me one word for your future?
Innovative.
All right. It's going to go into the system as you're looking at it now. There you see.
Oh, I like that one.
Wait a minute. She heard you differently. But you see that your vision is now part of the collective. So the point of the sculpture is to invite everybody, not just Max or me, but please participate and make your voice a part of this sculpture.
Sushi, the artwork is both remarkable and spectacular in the way that we're going to bring so many different voices together and make the world a better place. So thank you so much. We love what you're doing.
Thank
I can't
you,
wait to see it in person. So we'll see you soon. And everybody, make sure you get to the Smithsonian in November, and you can actually see the physical piece of artwork in action, and you can continue to contribute. So how does this all work?
I worked with the amazing humans at the AWS ProServe team to integrate Amazon Transcribe and SageMaker into the sculpture. So both of these services use machine learning to generate evolving data sets. Amazon Transcribe is the automatic speech recognition service that allowed me to translate sound into data, which then becomes light in the sculpture. And using Amazon SageMaker allowed me to explore, analyze, and process inputs to train a machine learning model that generates evolving patterns of light according to visuals that I designed. This sculpture is about demystifying and humanizing technology, looking at how humans can work with AI and ML in a way that provides an emotional connection with technology rather than just viewing it as a functional or an informational way to engage with it, especially at a moment when our physical and digital worlds are more intertwined than ever. And most importantly, I want people to feel empowered in their own agency to create their futures, and to realize how technology can be a way in which we express the best of ourselves. Me+U highlights that how we feel influences everything and everyone around us, and it's created through the combined strength of humans and technology. It is the first major artwork commissioned by AWS, and will open on November 20th in the historic rotunda of the Smithsonian Arts and Industries Building. It's a storied place. It has always been the record of our connection to the development of technology and our culture since its opening in 1881. It is where the electric light made its public debut in Washington, D.C., and where millions of Americans were first introduced to the telephone and the Apollo rockets. I was invited to propose this artwork about a positive future with technology by curator Isolde Brillmeyer as the centerpiece of the Futures exhibition. It was very clear to me that I needed to make a work that expressed the idea that it is the wisdom of humans that will temper and inform the wisdom of technology. Human interaction is essential to all my artworks, and Me+U took place as an installation that engages us all in creating a collective vision. I believe that the power of art lies in its ability to show us new information about ourselves and to cause us to reflect on the human condition, our cultures, and our communities. Art is a form of wisdom. It delights, it enlightens, and it prompts engagement. In the past 18 months, hunkered down in our homes, we have been connected to the world and others through our screens. As our emotional connector, technology created a new vital space for our humanness. Going forward, given the levels to which everyone has internalized this physical-digital hybrid, how can we use technology for the collective good? AI can be a powerful tool to allow us to see our world if we do it through the lenses of equity and empathy. Me+U will make people reflect on what they fear and what they desire, and the distance between those two poles of being. My deepest hope is that it will bring home the beauty of our own power in creating our future, and all of us acting together to create a beautiful artifact. Thank you.
That is so inspiring. The online version is great to watch, but I just can't wait to see the physical sculpture installed down at the Smithsonian. It's going to be so wonderful. Thank you so much for being so creative and so inspiring to everybody here.
Thanks to your amazing team too, Max. They are part of this. Thank you all.
We are all hard at work. You really do have to mark your calendar and go see this. I think it's going to be just phenomenal. It's great that we've had this opportunity to spend time together here today in person or joining us via live stream. I loved hearing about how many customers have come to these in the past and been inspired to go back and make new things happen. I want to close the way that I started, with gratitude. On behalf of the AWS Public Sector theme, thank you for being with us. Thank you to our partners for supporting this summit. Thank you all for learning with us and exploring with us and for trusting us with your business and your mission. It's our privilege to work alongside you. And now I want to send you off to enjoy the rest of the summit. We've curated more than 150 sessions, including breakouts to hear stories from customers like yourself, to participate in interactive technical sessions where you can build alongside AWS experts. We've got the content here at the summit, and we'll have it online for you so that you can contribute and continue your journey to the cloud no matter where you are in that journey. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.